It is officially spring, so welcome here into my craft room where we are working on beautiful spring projects. Things that have color and florals. Oh, they're all so uplifting and fun to work with. In today's episode, we are going to be doing 20 crafts, all using Dollar Tree supplies. Now come along and let's make something beautiful for our homes. I found this large rabbit sign at the Dollar Tree and I wanted to turn it into something really substantial. As well, I also picked up 2 of these pallet wood pieces, a craft stick, just one of them, and then some of these tumbling stacking blocks. We're going to take that craft stick and we're going to weld together those 2 pallet wood pieces by just adding some glue, cutting the craft stick down to size, and then gluing it all together. After I had that glued where it's nice and secure, I'm now going to come in with some more hot glue and put my rabbit. If it's perfectly right between these slats, I'm going to glue that into place, allowing it to stand up. Now it does need some support behind it, which is where these tumbling blocks come in handy. Add your glue to the back of the sign. Add on those tumbling blocks. I'm going to go all along the back side of the rabbit, and after that we're now going to dress up these pallet wood pieces. I'm taking some moss from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to rub it all over the wood and just keep adding it on, allowing it to cover and conceal that pallet because I don't want to see that part. I love that this rabbit says welcome. So I could see this being put at a front door or even on a front porch if your weather allows it. Go ahead, cover up all of that wood, even wrapping around the front of the wood so that you don't see the sides at the bottom. After I had everything all covered up, I wanted to dress up my rabbit a little bit better. This little tiny raffia bow wasn't doing it for me, so I pulled that off and I put on a big burlap bow. I loved how large and in charge this bow was on my bunny. Then down at the bottom, I added on a cottontail, which by the way, I know the cottontail is technically backwards because it would be on the other side of the rabbit, but it's just how these signs are designed. Then I'm going to take some of these eggs from the Dollar Tree, stack them all up around it, and you have got a high-end looking decor piece that is so gorgeous for your front door. If you're ever looking for a fun, fast project, I love picking up little frames like this using some scrapbook paper and some stickers. You can create the cutest frames. You can hang this up with a gallery wall. You can hang it up on a shelf. It is so adorable to work with these tiny little frames. I could even see this on a counter in a bathroom or by a sink in the kitchen. Take apart your frame, add some glue to the backer, and then whatever craft scrapbook paper you want to use, go ahead, glue that onto the backer, and then simply just cut it out. This is so fun because you can really customize these frames to whatever your style is for your home for the season. And it really is just the price of the frame and whatever scrapbook papers you might have on hand. After I got my frame all put back together, I picked out this darling bunny sticker. These stickers are from Simple Stories. I added foam to the back because I wanted to raise it up and really elevate the bunny sticker. And once I take off the sticker backings from the foam tape, it is going to really pop off of that photo frame backer and really look special. This is such a fun, fast project. I cannot stress that enough because all it is just putting stickers on a frame and it really looks custom. Now I wanted to add a little wordage at the bottom, so I went over to these little word stickers, added some more foam to it as well, and then I'm also going to stick that onto the frame. Now I wanted to tell you a little tip about foam tape. If you ever need foam tape, do not go to the craft section. Go over to the home improvement section. It's cheaper, it's thicker, and it has more on the roll. I have been doing that for years in the scrapbook industry, and it really saves me a lot of money. I hope you'll give this little frame a try. I personally love giving gifts to people that are special in my life. I found this long beaded garland chain, and I wanted to turn it into a handle with this box, but I wanted to also dress up the box. I'm going to take one of these wall wood stickers you can get from the Dollar Tree. This box is just one that I've had since Christmas time. Again, also at the Dollar Tree. You can also pick them up year-round at the Dollar Tree. They have all different kinds all the time. I took off the existing ribbon handle because, again, it was kind of flimsy, kind of cheap. And now I'm going to take my wall sticker. I cut it down to size where I'm letting it hang over about an inch at the top and the bottom. This is because I want to wrap the entire thing at the bottom and the top and really make it look finished. I'm just going around, pulling off the backer of that wall sticker, smoothing it out as I go, pushing everything down so I don't get any air bubbles. When I get all the way around to the back side again, you're going to notice it's just too short, a little shy on the length. That is not a big deal because we are going to have this extra strip left over. I'm going to take part of that extra strip, cut it down to size, lay that on to conceal it. Now you can't even see it. I'm going to take my scissors at this point and snip right into the corners, and we're going to fold it in like a present so that it lays nice and flat and it looks nice and tight and professional. Rub that all down, doing that at the top and the bottom of the box. And this is really going to clean up those edges, and it's going to look so nice. And then that extra piece over there, we're going to use that in just a second as well to help conceal the bottom of the box. Isn't this turning out so simple? And it's really elevating this box away from Christmas, because I'm not using it for Christmas. I want to use this as a gift for people that I care about. Take that extra piece, cut it down to size, put it at the bottom, and now your box is ready to start being decorated. I took my crocodile and punched 2 holes on the sides, and then I got some of my wire and I cut a piece of that down to size. Remember, friends, don't ever use your regular crafting scissors to cut wire. It really does tear them up. I have some wire snip scissors. I'll link them down below. It's my favorite one. They cut through so many things easily. Now I'm going to take that wire and I twisted it onto one side. I'm taking that beaded garland. Aren't these colors so bright and happy for spring? I'm putting those onto the wire, twisting that on. This was so fun and fast and easy to make. I think it took me maybe like 8 minutes to make this. It was so quick. I'm just twisting that wire into place. And then I'm going to start decorating the side of the box and the front of the box. That tassel that was on the garland, I didn't want it to go to waste, and I thought it would be so cute tying it onto the side with the beaded garland now as a handle. I love how it turned out. It was super easy adding this on, and it made it look like I really went the extra mile for this little gift box. Now at this point, I'm going to bring out some scrapbook paper. I'm going to glue on a pink and white gingham paper right into the middle of that box. And then I'm going to start utilizing these stickers. I used a border sticker, a floral sticker, and an Easter banner sticker. And then that bunny that was on the garland, I also made sure to add that but it has a little hole at the top where it was beaded through, so I just added a little bow. Now I'm going to use some buttons and finish dressing up the last of it. Adding on these buttons really does elevate it even more. Whoever you were to give a gift to during the springtime, they would be so excited to get this little box. And it's a great little box to use to store things in or use as decoration if you gave it as a gift. Somebody in your life would love getting a box like this because it just goes the extra mile. And honestly, we have all these craft supplies on hand anyway. So I hope you give this one a try and give a gift to someone that is special to you this spring season. For this project, we are going to be using eggs, a 18-inch wreath, but you could also do bigger, 24 if you get that from the Dollar Tree, or smaller if you want. And then these are just our starting supplies, some burlap ribbon. Go ahead, cut your eggs out of the packaging, and you decide on how many eggs you want to do. If you want a larger wreath, you're obviously going to have to do more packs of eggs. I believe I used about 10 packs of eggs. I think that's about what I did. Can't remember off the top of my head, but I wanted a lot of eggs. So we're going to just say I used 10 packs of eggs just to be safe. I took them outside on the skewer stick and I spray painted them. A darker pink and a light baby pink. Once they were all dry, I brought them back in. Now we're going to bring our wreath together. I wanted to have an oval wreath. It's really simple to do. You just basically push in on the sides, and I'm kind of bouncing it a little as I'm going, and I keep checking the shape. If I like it, perfect. I keep playing with it until I get the size that I want. Now the reason why I'm using this burlap ribbon, I am going to use burlap ribbon at the end to tie a bow, but I like to wrap these wreaths with the ribbon for two reasons. Number one, it gives it a nice clean backside. And number two, it gives you something for the flowers to glue onto. Trying to glue your florals onto these 3 rings is so difficult, and you will have glue going all over your table. Using the ribbon really does allow you to keep the glue controlled, and it has something to bond onto. And to get a spool of ribbon, it's $1.25. One spool of ribbon should be perfect for this wreath. Now I happen to keep in my craft room long garlands from Hobby Lobby. I get them when they're on sale. They're usually about $19.99, and so I get them for about $10. I'm using half of a garland, so this greenery is going to equal out to about $5 for this greenery. Now I'm going to glue all of my greenery on, and you can see what I'm saying about the ribbon. It's really going to give something to hold on to, so glue's just not going everywhere. Once I got all of that greenery on, I decided to come in with some Dusty Miller. I love this plant. Do you all have Dusty Miller in your yard? It's one of my favorite florals to use in the springtime, and it is such a wow statement piece in your garden. I love Dusty Miller. I just picked mine up from Hobby Lobby, and again, I get a lot of my florals when they're 50% off. Now we're going to start bringing in all of the eggs. I really want my eggs to bond well, so what I'm doing is I'm using the tip of my hot glue to melt into the egg some. Squirt a little bit of hot glue in there, not too much because it'll start to burn and melt down the egg from the inside, and then bring out the glue outside. So the glue is inside and outside the egg, and now it's going to really let it lock on, because plastic and hot glue, they don't always go well together. Now we're going to come in with all the fun details. First, I added in some berries. I went with a yellow berry and a golden berry. Both of these florals are from the Dollar Tree. Then I'm coming in with this beautiful, I'm going to call these flowers sprigs because that's just what makes me think of. I'm going to have this frosty white one, this greenish pink flower, these teeny tiny red pinkish roses, and then a little yellow flower. I'm coming in with all the details around the eggs. I really wanted this to feel like a wild garden with all these tiny ditzy flowers. I think these tiny flowers are so delicate and perfect for spring. I'm just simply tucking them in around the eggs, and once I got it to the liking of my, desired look, I'm now going to come to the bottom, glue on a whole bunch of beautiful pink and white ribbons, and then I bring in a big burlap bow. Now I am just fussing around with the bow, making sure it looks right, and I actually like to use hot glue on my bows because I like them to stay fluffy and big. To finish the look of the bow, I'm going to add on a button, which we all know Heidi loves buttons here, and I wish I had done this earlier before I mounted on the eggs, but I forgot to sprinkle on little black specks of paint, so I'm doing that added touch. I made sure to just focus on the eggs and not get it everywhere, and it worked out just fine. I wanted to use up some of these eggs that I had sitting around in my craft room. They're from the Dollar Tree, and these little wood candle holders are from Hobby Lobby. I buy them when their wood section is on sale, and then we're going to use a little bit of Spanish moss. Take some of that Spanish moss, glue it down into that candle stem holder, and then take your egg. I make a little bit of a bigger hole, add some glue inside the egg, not too much so it doesn't melt the egg because the heat can cause the egg to warp a little bit. And then I add a lot to the bottom of the egg and then press that down into the Spanish moss. After that, we're going to give it a little haircut. This is going to allow it all to bond together very nicely. Now, I love little decor pieces like this because I feel like when we decorate with these little details, that's what makes a house turn into a home. It's so fun bringing in character and different types of decor that just reminds us of seasons that we're experiencing in the moment. I'm going to take some of these buttons that kind of go along with the color of the eggs, this very thin, beautiful white ribbon that I get from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to tie some simple bows around the candle stems. Once I've got those tied, I'm going to just glue on my little button. I trim down the ribbon as well because I want to make sure that it's not too long, and then a simple dot of hot glue will be perfect to add on this tiny little button. In the end, we made these darling decor pieces on a crafter's budget, took hardly any time at all, and now you have something special and whimsical to decorate in your home. This project is so simple. We're using this very popular gold tray from the Dollar Tree, this darling bunny sign, and this piece of scrapbook paper. I love working with scrapbook paper because it brings in beautiful patterns and colors on a very crafter's budget. I'm going to be taking this fern blue paper, and my paper today is from My Mind's Eye. But there are so many different beautiful papers out there where you can head to any craft store and they will have scrapbook paper. I'm going to just trim it down to the size I need to fit into the tray. Now you're going to notice I end up changing my mind. First I thought I was going to only work with this blue. I went to lay it down into the tray with the adhesive, and then I decided it's beautiful, but it's still missing something. So I decided I was going to pop it back out of the tray, and I'm going to now line it on top of a piece of white cardstock. I think the white is going to really elevate the blue on the gold. I'm going to bond another piece of cardstock to the length of this. You can see that I cut off that piece and I just helped it get a little longer for the length of the blue. And then, friends, if you've been a long time crafter, you probably still have all of your scalloped edge scissors. Do you all remember these scissors? I kept mine. I know there was this big trend where people were getting rid of all their craft supplies, these old school scissors. I never got rid of mine. And every time I find them at like thrift stores, garage sales, and they happen to have an edge that I don't have, oh, I grab it. I pick them up. I love these for the purpose of using scrapbook paper. I'm just going around very slowly, trimming a scalloped edge, and would you look at that? It now has the look that I was going for. The blue and the gold really look defined with that white scalloped edge, and I really think it gives it a high-end look. Now I'm going to take that Darling Bunny sign and I'm going to pop off the sign banner part that says Easter, and I'm going to use some of these tumbling blocks from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to glue 3 on it because I really want it to be elevated and lifted up. This is going to give it a very high-end Pottery Barn look on a Dollar Tree budget. Glue those on, and then we're going to add some glue to the other side of those tumbling blocks. And to finish the look, we are going to just simply glue it right in the center of the tray. Dress this up however you would like. I wanted to go for a very elegant, high-end, sophisticated look with this one. So I'm going to keep it simple, but boy, does it look high-end. We are going to be using this brand new item from the Dollar Tree. It is this wood round beaded tray, some ribbon, this wooden bunny, which is also $1.25. Can you believe these 2 wood pieces are $1.25? And then these spindles that I get from Hobby Lobby. We're going to use 4 of them. Take your ribbon and glue it around the tray. You don't have to do this part, but I wanted to add a little more texture to the side of that tray, because we are going to be adding some legs to it. I wanted to make it look more substantial with some texture. Now I'm using wood glue, 2 dots, and then hot glue, 2 dots, and then I'm putting hot glue up into the spindle so it drips down and it really locks on these legs so nothing pops off. Now the sticker on the back of this bunny was stubborn. Thankfully I have my heat gun, so I just heated it up and I used my scraper tool. Friends, this tool is the MVP in my craft room this year. I cannot praise it enough. I'll link it down below. I know I've talked about it so much on here, but it's really because you can't get hurt with it because it's a plastic blade and it takes up stickers that are so stubborn. Look at how easy that came off, and I could not get it off without, the scraper and the heat tool. Once the sticker was off, I'm now going to take some wood glue and some hot glue, and I'm going to glue my bunny right onto that tray. Now this project was kind of a funny one. I was kind of making it up as I was going. Usually when I do projects, I have them in my head what I want to do. This project in particular, I was kind of like thinking, what should I do next? Do y'all ever do projects like that where you're just dreaming it up as you're going, and sometimes you think, oh, I ruined it, and then it turns out better than you thought it was going to be? That's kind of how this project turned out. So I drilled 2 holes because I had this idea, how cute would it be if it had a banner above the bunny to get some height on this project, and then we put a little stringed banner across the top of it. So I'm just gluing these into place after I drilled those 2 holes. I do wiggle my drill bit around a little bit because it's a little bit too small for these craft sticks, and honestly I'm just being lazy. I haven't gone and gotten a bigger drill bit. I'm going to put that to the side to let it dry, and then I'm going to tape down my ribbon. We're going to do that project next, But then again, because I'm like dreaming things up on this project, I decided to add these finials to the top of these sticks and glue them on. Then I thought, well, let me paint the whole thing now. Do you see what I'm saying? This project is evolving right before our eyes. I didn't know exactly where I was going with it, but then I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to paint it this creamy ivory white. So now I'm coming in with some paint, and again, you can do whatever you want. You can paint it, you can leave it, but after I had on 2 coats of paint, I pushed it to the side to go back to the ribbons. Now, I've said this a couple times with the stamps from the Dollar Tree. There is a film on the top of the stamps when they make them, so just make sure you take some sandpaper, rough up that very top of the stamp. It doesn't destroy them, it removes the film, and it allows you to have a better stamped image. For some reason this particular season, I am really loving stamping on ribbon, so I'm going to stamp the word spring, and I like to stamp 3 times to make sure the image is really strong and bold. And I'm just using a Crayola marker. I actually like using Crayola markers a lot with stamps because you get so many options of colors for a much more affordable price than you would for paying for 1 stamp pad. Now remember, friends, take care of your supplies, clean your stamps, and put them away properly so you don't lose any letters. It's so important that we always take the time to take care of our craft supplies, even if they're a $1.25 stamp from the Dollar Tree. Now I'm coming back in. I did some light dry brushing on the bunny. I loved how it brought forth more texture on the bunny, made it look real farmhouse for spring. And now I'm coming in with a dark chocolate, grayish brown. I kind of mixed 2 colors together to get this look. And I'm just doing very light distressing around it to bring forth more texture. Now you can see that I cut down my ribbon. I'm separating the letters. And I'm now going to come in with a dovetail at the end of the ribbon. I wanted to make sure it really looked like a banner, and I love the letters being cut apart. Up at the top of those craft sticks again, I'm going to tie some twine. At this point, I was falling in love with this project. This was that part where I was like, I'm not sure where I'm going with this project, but as I got to this part with the banner, I got so excited to finish this look. So I'm just going to glue on each individual letter. I'm adding a little bit of glue, not too much so I don't burn myself, because it is a burlap ribbon. It will seep through and burn your finger if you're not careful. I'm going to just add on all those letters, and then down at the bottom, friends, you can put whatever you want. You can even put like a little tiny bowl and put some candy in it. I'm going to dress it up with some florals, and then come in with a peony, some greenery. I'm also going to feature the color yellow. I feel like yellow doesn't get a big enough shout out in the world of crafting, or at least here online in these YouTube videos. I think yellow is such a beautiful color, especially when you pair it with beautiful green leaves and cream peony flowers. I don't know. I think yellow is so pretty. So we're going to feature yellow for this project. Now you can see I have quite a bit of a button collection. This is just one of the colors. I'm kind of going through these 3 different options, and I ended up settling on the round, larger button because I just liked how that looked. I'm going to go ahead and glue those right onto those craft sticks, making sure it looks just so perfect up there with these tiny little buttons. And that's it. It completes our look for today. This is such a quick project. Don't blink or you'll miss it. They had this woven basket at the Dollar Tree for $1.25. These carrots and some Spanish moss. We're going to bring them all together to make a darling basket of carrots. Super easy to make. Anybody on any crafter level can make this. And Again, I just love little details like this in my home to decorate with because it really does dress up an area without spending too much money. I'm going to add some glue to the inside of my basket, bring in my Spanish moss, and then I'm going to loosen it up some because we're going to be gluing the carrots down in there. I'm just creating little holes that I know that'll work for the carrot. I'm going to add a whole bunch of glue all over the stem of the carrot, and then I'm going to sneak that right down into the Spanish moss. I'm going to add as many carrots as I want to the basket. I really wanted this to be a full little basket. Like I just went out to the garden, collected all my carrots, and technically a subscriber was right. They told me this last year. Carrots do not officially come around until summer. So it's kind of funny that we like to decorate with carrots in the springtime. I think it's because we like to decorate with bunnies. So you think bunnies and carrots, maybe they go together. Regardless, I hope you enjoy this craft. It's really fun to make. I love simple projects. We're going to be using this old chalk sign that they have in the craft section. I had this in my craft room forever, but I know they still sell it. From the Dollar Tree, the wood round from the Dollar Tree, these gorgeous stickers, and then 2 of these wallpapers that you can use to make some really pretty designs in your home, but we're going to use them for crafting. I'm going to take the first of the wallpaper, trace my circle around it, and then I'm going to cut it out. This is such a quick way to bring in pattern into your decor without having to spend a ton of money. And it's a sticker, so it just sticks right onto this wood vinyl, and it looks so great once it's done. Simply peel off the back, make sure your surface is nice and clean on your wood round, and then you're going to line it up and glue it down. Once you've got it centered, you're going to notice that this particular wood round is so large in size that it runs just ever so slightly shy on the length of this wallpaper. So we're going to have to bring in a second sheet. Don't worry, I didn't waste it. I just cut out the portion that I needed, and then I put the back onto this wallpaper sticker, and I'll use it on another day for another DIY. But I'm going to stick it down, trim off that last little bit that I need to complete my circle by just simply going around the sign. Once I've got that cut off, we now can elevate our sign by making it be able to stand up. I love these chalkboard signs that have this base because you can glue things to them. And now we have a table topper decor piece versus just only being able to hang up this wood round. I love being able to transform projects like this so you can put them on a shelf, a table, a counter in a kitchen, in a bathroom, in a bedroom, on a dresser. You can put this all over the place now that it can stand up. Now these stickers are so beautiful. I love that they have a watercolor look to them. I love watercoloring, by the way. Do you like watercoloring? I love watercoloring. I know it was really trendy there for a bit during the pandemic, and I love watercoloring so much. So I'm going to use these butterflies. They have a gorgeous royal blue and Americana blue to them with that white, beautiful undertone of all the blending of those colors. And I'm going to just make sure that I don't put the exact same butterfly next to each other because I don't want it to take away from the look. So I've got down 4, and you can see I'm going to turn around and look at it because I want to make sure it looks balanced. There was this tiny little edge on that wallpaper with the wood chevron that I had where it was showing a little bit of that wood round, and then I realized, wait a second, I'm going to just hang the butterfly over the edge and just trim it, and now I concealed that little mistake that I had with the butterfly, and it looks beautiful. And I love that the butterfly was hanging over and cut off a little bit. It looks so high end at this point. So now that I've got all of these different butterflies, we could stop there, or we could take it a little bit further like I like to do here on my channel. We're going to tie a beautiful white bow at the bottom, just a simple bow. Y'all, I had to resist. I wanted so badly to put a button in the middle of this bow. I told myself I was going to make a project with no buttons. That's how much I love buttons. I can find a place to put a button anywhere, everywhere. I love buttons. They're so cute. So once my bow was tied, I trimmed off those tails and then I moved on to the next really awesome part. I think that really elevates this sign and makes it just so beautiful. I'm bringing out some letter stickers, but you can do this in so many different ways. You can paint the letters. You can write the letters. You can print the letters. You can Cricut the letters. You can sticker the letters, however you want. Oh, you can stamp the letters. There's another option too. However you would like, go ahead and spell out a phrase that means something to you. For me, because I'm just trying to not have those winter blues, I'm going to do spring is here, because I'm reminding myself that while it's snowing and cold outside here where I live, I'm thinking about my garden. I'm thinking about spring and the butterflies. I'm thinking about sitting on my porch and watching my kids play in the yard. Oh, I am ready for that goodness to come back into my life. I do love winter, don't get me wrong. I just don't necessarily like 3 months of winter. I like it for Christmas. Now that that is done, I trimmed it all up. I layered it on top of a beautiful navy blue cardstock, trimmed that up too, and now we're going to add some foam tape. Here's a trick about foam tape. Don't ever buy foam tape in the scrapbook sections. Go to the hardware section. You get a thicker band. It's cheaper and there's more on the roll. Anyway, I basically glued that down right in the center and I trimmed off the edge, and we've got a completed beautiful sign for spring. This project is so much fun to make, and I really hope you give it a try. I'm taking the large wastebasket from the Dollar Tree, a wood round from a Dollar Tree craft section, a piece of cardstock. It's a big, thick piece. It's more of like a piece of cardboard, and it's honestly really just to fill the whole of the wastebasket, and then some different fabrics. I'm using white burlap, a drop cloth tan color, and then a pink. So I cut it out to fit the top of the wastebasket because we are going to be making a Easter Bunny top hat. This is so cute when we're done, and I've made something similar to this a while back. I will link that video down below in the description box if you want to see it. It's a smaller version of this with a smaller little basket. Now you can see that I glued on that cardboard to the top of that hat. And now I'm going to take that wood round. I'm first tracing it onto the drop cloth. And the only reason why I'm doubling up this fabric like this is because I really wanted to use the white burlap. And it has holes and I didn't want to have that see-through, so I needed a base underneath it. You can use whatever fabric you want, and then you don't have to double up fabric like I'm doing here. It just depends on what you want your commitment level to be for this project. So you can see that when I put that white burlap on top of that tan drop cloth, and I get my drop cloth from home improvement stores like Home Depot, Menards, Lowe's. You can pick them up at those places. I get them in the painter section. And then once I doubled that up for the wood round, I'm now going to repeat it for the wastebasket. So you can see where the opening of the wastebasket is. I glued it on with some hot glue. And now I'm going to bring on the fabric, the tan drop cloth, all over the trash can. And I'm going to just simply roll it. Now when you roll it, it is going to curve off a little bit to the side, because that's what you have happen when you have a rounded cylinder type shape that's bigger on one side than the other. You're going to just keep rolling it and making sure you have a fabric that's going to be able to cover all the way around and through. I just keep adding glue onto the fabric and then pushing it onto the basket. It's easier trying to do it that way versus putting the glue on the basket the glue will go everywhere. Then I'm going to cut off all the extra we don't want. You can see here that I'm coming in and trimming up the side, cleaning it all up. And for the top and bottom, it's really simple. Just cut along the edge of it and then continue to glue anything down that still needs to be secured. Since I'm working with white burlap, I am using a popsicle stick or a craft stick to make sure that my hands are not touching that glue, because it does want to seep through the loose knit of the burlap. Now I'm going to add it up at the top as well, trim that off. There's just a lot of this like gluing on fabric and then trimming it, but if you work with one fabric, like I said, you're not going to have to double up the fabric, and it will literally speed up the process of this project. Now I'm going to bring on the white burlap at the top, and I will tell you I learned something while I was doing this, and I thought I would share it. Don't cut all along tight the edge of that rim at the top of the wastebasket. It's better to leave a little overhang and then glue that down, because it's going to give it a cleaner look at the top when you wrap the burlap around the sides of the wastebasket. I promise this project is going to turn out so cool in the end. We're almost done wrapping all the fabric. So now we're going to just repeat that process, going around the sides, gluing it, putting it down, using the popsicle stick, craft stick, whatever you want to call it. And then we're going to just keep pulling it nice and tight so it's got a nice flat look using our popsicle stick. I will always call it a popsicle stick. It's funny, sometimes I get comments on here where people tell me that I should be calling it a craft stick, but friends, technically the bigger, thicker ones are tongue depressor sticks, and I'm just old school and that's just how I remember them. But whatever you want to call your supplies, it's cool with me. Trim off any extra burlap that you don't want. And then at the bottom, I went around the ring of the trash can and then added a whole bunch onto the middle of that circle, flipped it over so it all glued together nicely. Now, at this point, our hat is covered. It looks like a top hat. It is so cute, and it's huge in size. I think this measures about 14 inches tall. Now we're going to work on the ears. First, I'm going to cut out with a traced ear shape. I just free-handed it. Rabbit ears are pretty easy. It kind of looks like a leaf shape in a way. And then I'm going to place that right on top of that burlap. Use that popsicle stick again. Press it all down on there. Trim it out. Look at how cute this has turned out. I'm so giddy over this project. And I know exactly where I'm putting this in my home. I have an entry table when you come into my house. I thought it would be so cute there. Now friends, I somehow lost the footage of painting and distressing this hat, but you've seen me do it a lot here on my channel. I use the brown paint to dry brush on a little bit of distressing, and then I also use white paint with my craft stick, I'll say it that way this time, and I just kind of tap it along the sides and kind of chunk it on there. You can use a paintbrush for that too, but I usually use like some kind of a stick to put on because I like that it goes on really thick. So you can see I just kind of distressed around the edges and around the ears as well. Now we're going to dress up the top hat. Use whatever color ribbon you want. I'm using pink in my home this year for spring and for Easter. And then I'm going to come in with a white ribbon. These are both from the Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to wrap it around, trim off the extra, glue it down. And then at the front, we can start putting on the ears. Now the first ear, I want to show you your two different options. You can lay them flat, or you can put a little dot right in the middle, pinch it, because it gives it more depth and it makes it look more like a real ear, like it's curved and turned. And then you're just going to glue that right down on there. And anything that's pulling up, you're just going to put a little glue behind it, push it down. Now I've decided I want both of my ears to look like that. So I'm just going to go back with the other ear, add a little dot in the middle, pull it over to do a little pinch, and then fold back that edge with some glue, getting it all into place. Isn't this turning out so cute? I promise you, it took me about an hour to do this project, but it was so worth it. It has such a beautiful high-end look. Now I added on a big bow to go with the ribbon around the band of the hat. I'm adding on a gold button. Surprise, surprise. Hattie loves buttons. And then on the side of the hat, I wanted to dress it up with just a little bit of florals. I only picked one side. I didn't do it to both, but it's up to you, whatever you want to do. I'm just going to tuck some of these florals in here. I'm going with very soft pinks and a little bit of that greenery with some leaves. And in the end, friends, this is one of my favorite DIYs I've ever made. I hope you give it a try. This entire project came together because of this tiny watering can that I found in the gardening section at the Dollar Tree for this spring. So I grabbed 2 of these crates, some foam and some florals, because we're going to make the cutest, most whimsical spring garden box. I'm just taking my 2 crates, I'm gluing them together by their side, and once that was nice and dry and secure in place, I then moved on to adding in my foam. Now the foam, we're going to have to cut it down to size to fit into these crate boxes. I just took a large square piece I get from the Dollar Tree, used my kitchen steak knife, and I cut it. That's like the easiest way for me to cut it. You cut it however you want, and then I'm going to conceal it right on top of it because we don't want to see that foam. Now we're going to move on to this darling watering can. We want to look like it's angling itself to the side, watering into the garden box. So I just bent the wire, and then once I got it down into the foam, I decided to bend it back just ever so slightly because I wanted to make sure the angle looked right with the watering can tipping over. Now I'm going to come in and fill in my garden box. I'm going to conceal the metal rod going up into the watering can by putting florals all over it so that it looks like it's floating in air. And then I'm going to come in throughout the rest of the box, filling it in with all kinds of different florals, some of these purple berries, and really just having fun getting really colorful with this project. You put in whatever florals you would like to have in it, but once you've got all of your florals in, you can decide whether or not to continue on with decorating it. I always like to take mine a step further. So we're going to decorate around the sides of the box to make it look like one garden planter. You don't have to do that. You could paint the crate boxes or you can stain them, whatever you want to do. I decided to wrap a really pretty lacy ribbon around it. And I'm just adding some glue, going around the box. And then after I do the lacy ribbon, I'm going to come back in with a pink ribbon. I really do feel like this tidies up those crate boxes nicely so you don't see the seam between the 2 of them. And it's really simple. You just cut down to the size you want, glue down where you want it to hold tight and not shift around. And then I'm going to use a pink ribbon because I wanted to pull out the pinks from those flowers. I could have used a yellow as well, but I'm using a lot of pink in my home this spring season, so I really like the idea of the pink, and then just glue it down into place. That's the fun thing about ribbons. I love layering ribbons on top of each other. It brings a lot of texture. It brings an extra color. Whatever you decide to do with your box, I'm sure it's going to be beautiful. Now, to finish off the ribbon on the box, I decided to add a little garden label tag at the very front, just adding some glue. I popped the stick off and put it right onto the front of the box. Didn't this turn out so whimsical? I hope you can get your hand on one of these little watering cans. They are so adorable to work with. This project is so quick, but has such a high impact look. We're going to use this wood bunny, this 11 by 14 frame, and some scrapbook paper as well as a ribbon. Open up your frame and remove the glass and the backing and the paper. We are only going to be using the backing. Everything else can be tossed or recycled however you would like. I now have my backing and I'm going to use this beautiful, I keep saying beautiful when it comes to blue because I love the color blue. It's not my favorite color. My favorite color is actually orange and it's like a sherbet orange, but sherbet orange with blue. Oh my word, I love those two colors together. We're going to be using this beautiful text blue paper. I would say it's almost a little bit darker than a baby blue, but we're going to just glue that down, and then I'm going to come in with this, again, beautiful, gorgeous, whatever we want to call it, very calming blue fern paper, and I'm going to just glue that right on top. Our board is longer than a traditional 12 by 12 piece of paper for scrapbooking, so we're going to need an extra piece for this particular frame. Go ahead and cut off the extra. Save any scraps that you want. You could quickly turn them into a card. Let's say you're making this as a gift and then you want to make a card to go with it. You could take the extra scraps of the paper and turn it into a card. I love doing things like that so I don't waste any scrapbook paper because there's always just so much to do with a piece of paper. Now we're going to take our bunny and put it on this tan gingham paper. We're going to cut out that bunny, and then before we glue it down, I popped off that tail because I want to use that on the front of my sign. I love that it was round with scallop edging. Then I'm going to now glue on my bunny paper. Make sure you line it up. I'm only putting down glue on half of the bunny. It was actually kind of cold. Again, it's cold. It's winter right now for me. I am going to only glue down half because I don't want my glue to dry. The cold weather sometimes dries glue really quick in my craft room. So I'm doing half and then the other half. And then now I'm going to bring back on that tail, gluing that right where the bunny's tail should be. And then at this point, we can really dress this up, keep it simple, whatever you would like to do. I'm going with a more minimal look with high impact on this project. So I'm going to tie a big, beautiful bow, trim it off, and then to complete that look, I'm going to just simply glue down the bunny. But friends, have fun with it. You want to add florals, some moss, maybe a sign, maybe some wordage. You add whatever you want. The idea is to just show you, look at how cool it is to bring a frame and one of these wood cutouts together with some scrapbook paper. This project is using a vase from the Dollar Tree, some twine, some carrots, and these greenery picks that look a lot like the leaves that come off of carrots. We are going to be making a whimsical vase filled with carrots. It is so easy to make and so cute. Now I'm going to take my twine and I'm going to wrap it around something that I need the length of, and the length is about 5.5 inches, I would say 6 inches. Let's just give it 6 inches long. And we're going to need a whole bunch of them because we're going to add just a little bit of glue to each carrot and add on that twine so that they can all dangle down at different heights inside of this jar. So I'm just adding a little bit of glue and then a little bit of the twine, and I'm just going to go through all of these carrots. Now you can double up a couple of carrots on one twine piece, and I did that a couple times. I had one twine that actually had 3 carrots that were clumped together. Then you're going to take your carrots once they're all hung up on their twine. See this one I'm about to put in right here. This one has 3 on it. You're going to go ahead and work them down inside of your vase, liking the way that they're hanging, liking the way that they look down in there. Now, if you've ever seen farmhouse carrots, like on an actual farm, when they're pulling them out, they have long green stems coming off of them. And that's kind of the idea behind this project. We're bringing all of these carrots together as if a big cluster of carrots had just been pulled out of the garden. We're going to tie the top of that twine so they all stay together, and they're going to sit down in there nicely. Now we need something for our greenery to go into. So I'm going to take a piece of foam. I pushed it onto the glass just to kind of get the size right, and I'm going to just trim it off with my actual kitchen steak knife that I keep in my craft room. I've had people ask me before. I'm like, yeah, that's my actual steak knife from my kitchen, from my Pioneer Woman kitchen set, actually. Now I'm going to take some of this moss and I'm going to conceal the foam. You don't want to see the foam. That part's not cute. Go ahead and just go all the way around that foam, making sure you cannot see it. And then once that's all concealed, going all the way around, you're also going to need to put some Spanish moss down inside. You can see that I'm working around the twine, so it's really concealing that foam at the top. And on the back side of the vase where no one's going to see it, I did add some glue in there to secure the foam from popping out easily, because we don't want that to happen. Once it was dried, I then came in with my greenery picks, pushing those all into the foam, and it is looking like a large pile of carrots that just got pulled out of the garden. And you can leave it like this, or you can dress it up some. It just depends on what you want to do with your project. I decided to dress mine up a little bit. So after I had all of my greenery picks in place, and I made sure that the foam was staying in place as well, I'm now going to take my twine and I'm going to wrap it around that middle neck of the vase, almost as if they had been bundled up with some twine. I tied a knot, and then I just wanted to keep playing with it. So I added on a white satin ribbon, and I went all the way around, making sure it was nice and clean and straight. And I liked it because it really did clean up that middle section where the carrots going into the moss were. But again, you play with it and do whatever you want. The project is so whimsical and it's so fun, and it's such a cute centerpiece to put on a table somewhere. I really love this project, and it was really quick to make. Then I added a bow and a twine bow, and then of course it's a Heidi project, a button. I added on a couple of buttons, and at this point it just looks so whimsical and pretty for your home. I found these 3 different size eggs. The smaller one is from a garland pack of wooden eggs, as well as these wall sticker sheets, which are so beautiful and they coordinate so well together, and then this little palette wood piece. Start by taking your sticker wall sheets, peel off the back, and lay them over your eggs. Now I'm going to be covering up this artwork on this egg because we don't want to see that, because we're going to be giving it a new life and a new look. I simply rubbed it down really well, took my scissors, cut around the edges. Once I had the whole thing cut out, I moved on to my other eggs. This project is super easy to recreate, has hardly any work involved in it, and has such a beautiful high-end spring look for your home. Now I'm not going to use the full sheet. I cut off some of the extra so I didn't waste it. I just cut it down to size with the backer sticker piece still on it. And then I'm going to rub that down on my medium size egg, and then as well cut that out. And we're just repeating this process all the way through. Dollar Tree even has some really huge eggs that stand up in their spring Easter section right now. Those ones are more $3 to $5, but that is the point of this project. However big you want your eggs to be, you've got a lot of different options to be able to play around with this, and using these wall stickers has such a beautiful look when we're done. Now I've cut out the smaller egg, And that palette wood piece earlier from the craft section, we're going to use it to help stand up all of these eggs. And these little slats are perfect for these eggs. I'm going to just add a little hot glue, and then I'm going to come on the back side of it with a little stacking block wood piece. And I'm going to just repeat that for all 3 of them, making sure they're standing upright. Now you could also twist them to the side a little bit to make them look more whimsical. I'm standing mine vertically straight up, so it has a nice, clean, high-end look. It just depends on what you want your style of your piece to be. And you can see that the little one is a little tricky to try to get back into that space. So I actually have a recommendation. If you do this project, start from the front egg and then work your way back, so that way you're not trying to squeeze into these small spaces. Now I'm going to take some foam. I have one piece between the 3 eggs, the other one at the front, and I'm going to cover it up with some moss. Once that has been all covered up, I'm now going to come in with some coordinating color florals. I'm going to be using this beautiful lavender looking salvia. I'm going to cut these down to size, and then I also have this picked from Hobby Lobby. They have some of the most beautiful florals right now, and I always just go when they're on sale, and I get them 40 to 50% off depending on what their sales are. Now I'm just going to plunk that right down into the foam, and in the end, this piece is so large in size and so stunning. Dollar Tree has this beautiful twine blue egg. They have it in 3 different colors. I am going to be using that, as well as this spool and finial topper from Hobby Lobby, as well as a craft stick and a couple other supplies from the Dollar Tree. Now you can see that I took that craft stick and I poked it from the top all the way through the bottom of the egg. Then once I got it in its place that I wanted it to be, I added some glue into the spool, and I'm just going to twist that craft stick down in there. It fits so perfect in there. Any glue that was sticking out or pushing out, I took my scraper blade that I get from Amazon. I'm going to link all my tools down below if you're interested in them. And then I just scraped off the extra glue to really clean it up to make it look high quality. I really like to make sure I'm very methodical about my glue. I feel like when there's messy glue, it takes down the quality of a project. So I just made sure all of that looked clean and tidy. Then I added on a bow, and I have seen tons of decor pieces like this at Kirkland's and Home Goods, and they charge so much for them, and we're going to make this for like $3 or even, I would say, less. Now I'm going to take a garden tag. I popped off the clip from the back, gluing that on, and then down at the bottom where I added a bow, I'm going to add on a rosette. I thought this would be so pretty. Now to secure the bow, the rosette, and that tag, I'm going to add some glue nice and neat on the back to really beef it up and to hold onto the stick. Now at this point it can stand up, but I don't like how tipsy-turvy it is, so I found this wood round in my craft supplies. I also get those from Hobby Lobby in a big pack when they're on sale, and I'm just going to glue the whole thing onto it, giving it a nice base to help it stand upright, and it is such a beautiful decor piece. I hope you give this one a try. I love a good easy project, and Dollar Tree right now has these darling wood chip bunnies with little pom-pom tails, some new frames, and I pulled a couple scrap supplies, a piece of paper, and some stickers from Simple Stories. Take apart your frame, pull out the frame and the glass, and keep the backer with the frame part to glue on your scrapbook paper. Simply put glue onto that backer piece, rub your scrapbook paper onto that backer, and then cut it down to size so that it fits nicely back inside of your frame. This is such a fun project because you can use whatever color you're using for your spring season to decorate. And it's so easy to do, and it keeps you on a crafter's budget because all it really is just the price of the frame and these little bunnies. And I know lots of us have scrapbook paper on hand in our craft supplies. At this point, once the frame was back together, I'm going to take the bunnies out of their packaging, and for this 8x10 frame, you can get 6 bunnies onto the frame. Now you could also turn it so it's horizontal and then have them going a different direction. So it's just whatever direction you want for your frame. Make sure your bunnies are lined up straight and nice. I really enjoyed using the polka dot paper because it made it even easier to line the bunnies up to make sure they were straight. And then as I glue them on, I just lift up the frame. I check to make sure they're straight before I push them all the way down. And then at this point, it is so whimsical and easy and cute. Now I wanted to add on a sticker that said Happy Spring. You can customize this however you want. You could put a bow, you can put some florals, you can put some moss underneath the bunnies, whatever you feel is best for your project that you're working on. I'm going to take that sticker and add some foam tape behind it. I like the idea of it being raised up a little bit. It gives it a more elevated look and makes it look more high quality, something you would see at a store. And then just simply push it down into place and you've got a darling decor piece to put somewhere in your home. I found this tray over in their kitchen section and thought it's so beautiful that it needs to be elevated, well, at least in my opinion. I also found this wall sticker sheet, and then I have some of these little knobs that I get from the craft section at Hobby Lobby and their wood section. Now I have this piece of wood that's left over from another project. I decided that I liked the size of it for the inside of the tray, and I'm going to just use it as a template. I traced around on that wall sticker sheet, and then I'm going to cut out. I am cutting a little bit past that black line because I just want to make it just a little bit bigger, and I'm doing this so that I can lay it down inside of my tray. And what I liked about the size of that wood is I liked that there was still a white band going around the tray. You can decide how big you want your wall sticker to be, but this is such a beautiful way to really spruce up these scallop trays that you can get at the Dollar Tree and then really add some spring to it. I'm going to pull back that paper on the sticker and then just continue to smooth it out, making sure there's no air bubbles. Once I've got that all down nice and snug and tight and smooth, I'm going to flip it over and take 5 of these knobs. I'm using E6000 to glue them down, and you can see I'm using a little bit more than just a dot so that it kind of curls up and around on the side of the wood, which will really lock it in. Now the Dollar Tree has a bunch of beaded wood wreaths. I just took one of them, cut it down to size, and then I'm going to feed that through and twist the wire. Here is a tip when you work with these: don't twist the wire onto the plastic. It can crack the scallops. So when you're twisting your wire, just be careful, keeping it nice and straight as you can as you twist the wire on to create the handles. This project is super simple, but boy, does it have an impact. I love little decor pieces like this because you can put them all over the place. Now this sign is from the Dollar Tree. I just didn't really care for the ribbon. We are going to elevate it by using some beads and some wire. Pop apart your sign. I'm going to be taking the middle part of this bunny. I'm going to pop off those staples that were left behind when I pulled the ribbon up. And then I'm going to use my Crop-A-Dile to punch 2 holes at the top. I love the Crop-A-Dile. I've talked about it a million times here on my channel. It's great for hands with arthritis. It's easy to squeeze and it doesn't hurt your hands when you're punching holes, and it goes through all sorts of things. Wood, chip art, metal, all kinds of things. Now I'm going to take my wire. I'm going to cut off a piece for the length that I want, and then I'm going to use these beads from the Dollar Tree. They have them in the craft section. I love that they were white. This is going to have a very farmhouse look to it for spring. I'm going to just simply thread on as many beads as I would like. I didn't use the whole pack. I always like to let my products go as far as I can to always get my money's worth. So I used about half of the beads from the pack. Then I threaded the wire onto the sign where I punched those holes with my Crop-A-Dile. And I'm just going to twist that wire on. Once I've got it into a place that I like it, I'm going to take the extra wire and just simply snip it off, because we don't need to have that wire be too bulky in there. I like to have some wire twisted, not too thick. And then I always like to clamp it down so that it doesn't scratch anybody and it's just nicely in place. Now at this point we could stop there and it's super cute, but I really wanted to elevate it just a little bit more. So I'm going to add a bow to it and then as well a button. But friends, please have fun with these kind of projects. It really is just showing you that you can take these signs from the Dollar Tree and you can turn them into so many different things. And if you go to craft sales to sell things, things like this sell so easy and they are so fun to make, and customers just like picking these up because they're easy to decorate around your home. The Dollar Tree has out some beautiful signs this spring season. I also grabbed this chalkboard sign. I had this little finial and this craft stick that I got from the Dollar Tree craft section. And we're going to bring these all together to make a beautiful stand-up decor piece that you can put anywhere in your home. I really would love to see this at your front door, welcoming in your guests, welcoming in the spring and Easter season. It is so fun to make this one. So we're going to start with taking that chalkboard sign, gluing it to the back side of the egg. This is going to allow it to become vertical, which is going to really elevate the sign. These kind of signs are really easy to just hang up on a door, on a nail, on a hook, but giving it some height and allowing it to stand up really does let you put this anywhere in your home, on a counter in the bathroom or at a table when you're walking in to the front door to welcome your guests. Now, to really elevate it and make it a high-end look, something that you would see at like Kirkland's or Pottery Barn, I glued this craft stick to the back, and at the very top we're going to add a finial piece to top off the very tippy top of this craft stick. It really completes the top of it, which looks nice and polished. And then we're going to move on to decorating it. Adding on a bow and some florals really does help complete the look of this project. And again, super simple steps to follow. Any level of crafter can make this one. Take some glue, glue on whatever kind of bow you want. And again, they have so many different beautiful signs at the Dollar Tree for $1.25. So you can get as creative with this as you would like. I decided to add on a burlap bow and a gingham bow, and then I took a tiny bit of Spanish moss, put that right in the center of the bow so that I could add on a button right in the middle. And I'm pulling the colors from the sign. You can see I've got that neutral tan to go along with the wood. I've got the blue from the florals, and I've got this pink from also the florals. Down at the bottom, I want to conceal some of that base, that stand that we're using from the chalkboard sign. I'm going to add a little bit of Spanish moss, and then I'm going to come back in with some greenery picks. I'm just going to sneak those in on the side, and then I decided to add in just one more tiny pick that had a little bit of pink to the tips of it. I thought this was really nice to help tie in the pink in the flowers and then the pink down at the bottom. I glued all of that into place, and at this point, it's ready for decorating in your home and cost you just a few dollars. I hope you give this one a try. The Dollar Tree has these large grape wreath bunny wreaths, and I wanted to turn it into something special. So I'm going to take this Happy Easter truck sign. I'm going to take it apart in just a minute. I'm going to use the Happy Easter part, some fabric, some ribbon, and a whole bunch of florals. We are going to make the most high-end looking wreath for a crafter's budget, making it look so beautiful for our front doors. Now I'm going to take this fabric, I'm going to add zigzag glue around the back side of this wreath, and I am going to pull that fabric nice and tight. I'm going to take my time going around the wreath, making sure I'm pulling nice and tight and not just putting all the glue down at once, because it will dry as you're going around. So it's better to take it in sections and then just keep pulling it tight. Now this wreath has chicken wire on it, which looks so cute with the fabric backing behind it. I then moved on to the bunny's head and the bunny ears, and I'm just repeating the same process. Now the trick with it is make sure when you're putting your glue, you don't want to come around to the side of the wreath. I always try to stay right in the middle of the back side of the wreath. That way when I go to cut the fabric away, you don't see the fabric from the side of the wreath, and you don't definitely not see it from the front of the wreath. You want the fabric just only to be at the back. Now, after I had everything cut off, isn't this so cute? I love the pop of color. How adorable is this fabric? I ended up taking a burlap ribbon. I first tied on a long piece, then I tied a bow because I wanted to have a lot of ribbon on this. I glued on my burlap bow, and I just pushed that right down into the center where you would think a bunny's bow would be. I then came on with a second bow, which is a black and white gingham bow, and these ribbons are all from the Dollar Tree. Now at this point, once I've got my bows on and I like how thick and voluminous it is, I'm going to take my truck sign, I'm going to cut it apart, and I'm going to wire on this Happy Easter part. This part's super simple. You just take your wire, poke it through a little spot on the back side of that fabric. You're going to twist it together to hold it in place. Now I wanted mine to be tipped a little bit to the side, so you can put it straight on, you can have it where it's dangling down low, wherever you want to put this Happy Easter part. But it is just so cute when you put this on there. It really does take it to the next level. Now I'm twisting wire into place and snipping it, and I don't want it to come loose, and I definitely don't want it scratching the paint on my door. So I'm going to just take my hot glue and conceal it with hot glue. That is going to encase it and create like a little rubber nub on the back of it to keep it from scratching anything on my door, and it has a very high quality look to it. Once that glue was dried, I flipped it over and I started working on the florals. But before I do that, I like to cut all of my florals loose so I have all these little pieces to work with. I feel like it looks more like a bouquet when you cut them apart versus just sticking them on there as a pick. We're going to start with the very center of that bow, and I'm going to put on this large peony piece. I bought this years ago, this particular peony flower. It's the last one in the bundle that I bought years ago during like a Christmas sale, and I finally used the last one. I'm also going to add on some eucalyptus. I thought this was really pretty, and crazy enough, I'm using this muted creamy butter yellow eucalyptus. That's from the fall time. Don't ever be afraid to mix and match all of your florals, because you can get the look of those colors that you want if you pull things from your fall collection of florals, spring, Christmas, whatever you need to get the color and the look that you want. Now I'm just putting in these little sprigs at this point. I love the idea of them blowing in the wind and being very wispy. Whenever I do floral arrangements for wreaths, I always like to have some thrillers, some spillers, and some fillers. I like having the three different so they blow in the wind, they give you that look, and it's very eye-catching, very colorful. Now I want to make sure, because springtime is windy season for me here in Missouri. We get tornadoes here. The wind, the high wind is so crazy. I like to secure my ribbons with the tiniest dot of glue. I tap it a couple times and then push it in place, and that's going to keep your ribbon looking nice without it getting all tattered in the wind. I hope your neighborhood is filled with flowers coming up out of the ground and birds coming back to sing. I know mine is, and I am so giddy about it. I love the springtime and life springing forth. It makes me so happy. It really makes me feel like God is in the air surrounding around me. Life is existing, and we get to celebrate our Savior and the coming forth of Him overcoming death. What a gift we've been given. I hope you get a chance to be in your craft room. I hope you get a chance to try out one or maybe more of these crafts. Leave a comment down below to let me know what you're most excited about for this spring. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and if you missed this other spring mega video, I'm going to link it right here so you can check it out. And until the next episode, bye friends.